Okay, so today we're going to start with the basics. The big thing we're going to look at today is if you just had a few minutes to quickly edit a picture, what would you do? Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we are going to open up our picture in Photoshop. Really simple, up at the top, we're going to go to File, Open, and from wherever you downloaded your picture is where we're going to open it. So for me, I'm going to go into Family, and then I'm just going to pick a random picture. So I'm going to pick this really cute one of my daughter from when she was younger. So this is my picture. Oh, the cuteness. Now, what we got over here is we have tools. So in Photoshop, all the tools they think that you are going to need are going to be over here on this toolbar. If you look closely, you can see that a lot of these tools have this little triangle in the corner. And what that's saying is hold down and check underneath, there's more tools. So for instance, this is the quick selection tool. If we hold it down, you're going to get the quick selection tool and the magic wand tool, two tools that we use a lot in Photoshop. Now with any tool, so for example, the paintbrush tool, you're also going to have your controls for that tool up here. So here I can control the size of the paintbrush, whether it has a hard or a soft edge. I can control the blending mode, which we'll talk about in a different video. The opacity, which means how much of the background you can see underneath that mark that you make. Flow, how much paint comes out of the actual brush, and some other various activities for the paintbrush tool. Now, every tool is going to be different. So clone stamp is going to be a little bit different. Dodging and burning, you're going to get a little bit of a different options or controls. If your screen doesn't have this, you can go up here to one of these like windows and say you really wanted to have your brushes with you the whole time. So you can go to brushes and it's actually going to give you a little pull out menu over here for this toolbar. So your brushes, you have access to it immediately. So these are your toolbars. This is where you're going to control the colors that are coming out of like your paint bucket or your brush tool. That's all right here. But for us, since we only have a few minutes to adjust our picture and make it beautiful and make it wonderful, what we're going to do is we are going to ignore that stuff and we are going to focus on our picture. Now, the key to any good picture is having good contrast, good color, all of that fun stuff. And we're going to be going up here to image. Now, image is going to give you some options. So you have all of these adjustments you can choose that will do different things to your pictures. You have something called auto tone or auto contrast or auto color, and that's going to just really quickly change what your picture looks like. So if you look over here, you're going to see Shift Control L or Alt Shift Control L or Shift Control B. What those are is the quick shortcut keys. So you don't have to bring your mouse over to image and then over here. You can just quickly hit Alt Shift Control L and it's going to auto contrast for you. So let me just click that really quick so you can see what it does. So do you see how it changed your picture very quickly and you didn't have to do a lot of work to it? So that's great. However, I want to play with it myself because for me, I want to know, what's going on. So I'm going to press Alt Control Z, which is step backwards, and I'm going to get my original picture back. So this is what that is. So I'm going to go to Image Adjustments, and for me, I'm a huge fan of the levels. So I'm going to click on Levels, and this is where I do a lot of my adjusting initially. So whenever I open up a picture, the first thing I think is, how can I adjust the levels to make this picture better? Now, your input levels, you've got these kind of mountain looking things. And this is kind of showing you where your color is divided. So this little like darker arrow is going to control your dark tones or your blacks in the photograph. So if I start shifting it over, do you see how my dark tones are getting richer and are getting darker? So if I keep going, oh, it's getting too dark, and vice versa. So what I like to do is I like to pull it over just a little bit because I can always play with it. But do you see where this mountain starts to begin to climb? That's usually where I'll pull it to. Same thing with my brights. So this is going to make all the bright colors or tones in our picture brighter. So you can see if you go too far, you're not getting a lot done. So I'm going to pull that in just a little bit until I'm happy with it. Okay, that looks good. I'm actually going to pull my dark tones in a little bit more, and this is what's creating contrast. So I am controlling my own contrast. This mid-tone right here is going to adjust the rest of your picture. So if you want a darker or a medium, like kind of fit, you can play with this until you are happy. So if I look at it now, it looks pretty good. And I can press OK. Now if I didn't like it or wanted to step back for any reason, once again, I can do Control-Alt-Z. Okay. Now before you do anything, so before you adjust, before you do any of that stuff, one thing you might want to think about doing is duplicating this layer. So you can actually right click, duplicate layer, okay, and you can turn your background copy off, which means say I go over here and I go to adjustments and I adjust my levels, and once again I'm just going to play with them a little bit until I'm happy. Actually, and that looks pretty good. Okay, say I screw something up or I don't like it, I can just really quickly go back to my original picture, and now you can see how much my picture has changed. Okay, so that is adjusting your levels and looking at your toolbar, and we're going to do one more quick thing if we just had to really quick edit our picture. And the thing we are going to do is we are going to look at crop. This is our crop tool. Now here you get some preset ratios. So most photographs are 4:6. So I'm going to click 4:6, and as you can see, this picture is already edited to 4:6. But what I can do is I can change it a little bit more. Now in photography, there is something called the rule of thirds. And what that states is your subject is always placed on one side or the other side of the frame. Where these kind of lines intersect, this is where you want your subject to be, because it gives more visual balance. You never want your subject right in the center. It can be confrontational and be just a little harsh. So really quick, I'm just adjusting my picture to fit the rule of thirds. Now I'm going to move it over just a tiny bit because I like her little ponytail. I think it's super cute. Okay, if I wanted my donut to be more of a subject, I could bring that down to where it intersects. But for me, it's her face, her beautiful face and her beautiful smile. So I'm going to pick that, and I am going to press enter. And my picture is now cropped. Okay, so I've shown you how to open up a picture. I've shown you where your tools are, where your controls are, how to duplicate a layer, and how to adjust the layer. And then we've just learned cropping. Now the final step for this that you need to learn is how to save. So we're going to go to File, Save As, and where you want to save all your images is in your drive. So where it says L. MacArthur, this one's my drive. Okay, this is where I'm going to save it. And if you have a specific folder for photos or photography class, you'll find it. For me, I'm just going to save mine in my family folder. So I'm going to double click on it, and I'm going to label this MacArthur, and this is Evie Donut. Now, when you're saving things in this class, you always want to save it as your last name and then whatever it is. So for this, MacArthur Evie Donut, it works. It lets me know what it is very quickly, very easily. And I'm going to save it once as a PSD, which is a Photoshop file. You can look at it right here. That way, if I ever want to open it back up and edit it, I still have the option to do that. The next thing I'm going to do is go to File, Save As, and I'm going to change this to a JPEG. Okay, when you're uploading images and things to Schoology to submit, okay, you always want to submit the JPEG version of it. However, you want to have the Photoshop version of it saved in your drive in case I have any questions for you. So I'm going to press Save. Okay, and then this is like your image options. Now for us, we want the maximum. We want it to be a nice, big, clean image, and we're going to press OK. So this is all done. Hopefully you learned a little bit about Photoshop and you're ready to take on your first pictures.